All right, you guys, this is episode 20 of Inner Demons. So I'm going to get straight back into it. I cut an episode of War Stories earlier, so I don't have to make any more announcements. I handled all my household business and all that kind of stuff, man. It's been a minute since I put an episode out on Inner Demons. Well, it actually hasn't. Since I've been going every day, it's a minute. What I'm talking about has been like 2 or 3 days now, which is a good thing. It hasn't been a week or 2 weeks like what was going on a couple weeks ago. It's only been a couple days. So anyway, let me get straight back into it. So after I told you guys what happened with me and Cuete and Chente, basically we went back out there. We had intentions on doing what we had to do before we ended up becoming a steak sandwich out there. We did what we had. We were about to do what we had to do, and somebody ended up telling on us. I expected it, straight up. You know, when we first got released, I knew that was going to be a possibility, that we probably weren't even going to end up getting the target out there. But you know, when it came to that night, when it was going to happen the next morning, I actually kind of thought we might end up getting those yard reps, but it didn't happen. So we end up going back to AdSeg. Jasper, Chino, and all the fellas, you know, they knew we were coming back. They seen us. They were just like, damn, you know. So anyway, end up getting, I want to say, I ended up selling up with, originally when I came back in, I think I ended up selling up with the homie Chente from Sanho. Good little dude, man. Solid. No. Matter of fact, Chente came later, or Chente would end up moving in with me after his celly split. So check it out. There was a couple incidents that happened while I was there in AdSeg, and I'm going to talk about some of that stuff. This is when I really started doing whole time now. That was it for me. No more main lines. From that point on, I would always go back to either AdSeg or to the shoot. Or anytime I come back to prison now, I'd have to go through AdSeg first, reception center, whether it was Tracy or Quentin. I'd go through the AdSeg, and then I'd end up getting put on a bus to either Corcoran or Pelican Bay. So I was done with main lines. That's why I always say my time out on the main lines, it was brief. It was short-lived before I ended up getting validated. Now, all of us that ended up getting caught up in that incident, we all got validated. They opened up validation packets on us, all 7 of us. Back in those days, it was real easy to validate you. All they needed was 3 points. This is before the Valdivia ruling and all these other rulings that came into effect that ended up helping guys that were validated. And it actually, they had to revise the validation process and all that stuff years later. But when I first started going to prison and when I got validated, it was easy. There was so many homeboys that were getting validated. It was crazy, man. A picture, a phone call where you might allude to the fact that, you know, that you say something that can be interpreted of you being a member, or a tattoo, or somebody dropping a kite on you or something like that, and you were done. All they needed was 3 points. And most of the time they didn't have to go through a whole lot to get those 3 points. There's a bunch of, the criteria was crazy, man. It was just crazy. Okay, so now while I'm there, I ended up staying in the oil for the next 17 months, but they already had started that validation packet. When we came back from the yard the second time, I think that's when we obviously had to go to ICC again. We had to go to committee. But from that point on, I think that's when committee, they used the 1030s, the confidential disclosure forms from the initial incident and the second incident to validate me. Sleepy, Chente, Tony, Paco, and the rest of the homies that ended up getting caught up, Chino, they ended up slapping them with validation packets when they first came in. They had already started that process, but we all would end up getting validated. So this is when I really started doing a lot of whole time. This is, you know, everybody goes through these motions, man. When you first start going to prison and you first start doing cell time, you got to learn how to live and be compatible in those type of environments. And it can get testy, man. It can get testy in those cells when you're living with another man in a small confined space and you guys are in there for fucking 23 hours, 23 and a half hours a day, every day, day in and day out. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of, you know, you got to be flexible. I went through all the motions over the years. I had to learn how to not only be disciplined, but and not only be flexible and compromise, but I also had to keep an open mind about just, you know, living in that kind of environment. You're already pissed off because you're locked up. Anything and everything that happens in the cell can irritate you, can frustrate you. I mean, literally, if you let time do you, it will do you. You know, if you let it, everything that your cellie does will fucking frustrate you. From where he puts the soap, not wiping out the sink, not flushing the toilet when he's pissing, passing gas. Of course, you can't do shit like that. It's disrespectful. But, you know, my point is everything in the cell will irritate you, will frustrate you if you let it. You got to keep your mind occupied. You got to stay focused on other things in there because, man, the cell can get small. It can shrink on you, literally, if you let it. You know, when I first started doing time, I'm sure I was just like everybody else. I had to learn all the things that you got to learn about being compatible and being respectful of another man's space and his area in the cell. I mean, you got to keep in mind that there's only so much room in that cell. So you guys got to be aware of, you know, what the other one's doing and where he's at, and be aware of his space and his privacy. Straight up. You know, by the time I got to Pelican Bay, I was already used to doing time. I'd done a lot of time in Susanville, so Susanville kind of helped me transition. By the time I started doing shoot time, I already knew the routine. I mean, you're in the cell with somebody else, man. Me, myself, I'm a clean motherfucker. I got OCD. Even to this day, that's something that prison and being locked up in institutions done to me. So I'm constantly cleaning. If a picture is crooked, it'll fucking bug me. If something is there's dishes in the sink, it'll bug me. If there's water in the sink, it'll bug me. So, you know, I had to learn all these things though in prison. So I'm always cleaning anyway. But out of respect, if you're a slob, you live like a biker, you know, you're living in the cell with somebody, you can't live like that, man. You got to respect that man. So, you know, things like getting up in the morning, taking turns, wiping down the cell floor. You know, there's dust bunnies that accumulate up in the fucking cells. Wiping down the floor. You know, I'm very respectful too. I'm very respectful and conscious of what I do and how I do it in the cell. And I expect the same from my cellies. You know, if I don't want to get too graphic on here, because I know that there's a wide variety of people that listen to this stuff, different people, but just I'll go over some of this stuff. Like, you know, I mean, when you're going to the bathroom, drop one, drown one, you know, flush the toilet. When you're urinating, you flush the toilet. Nobody wants to just be in the cell laying there while you take a 5-minute piss. Just for like 5 minutes, man. When that shit's running, keep that water going. You know what I mean? You know, I was the type of dude. I had my cellie. I mean my sink. I had it shining like a fucking mirror. You know, it's a combination sink. It's a sink with the toilet bowl, and it's made out of steel, but it's dull. But if you know how to shine it, and it takes a long time, and you got to do one little small section at a time, you can literally turn it into a mirror where it's super shiny like some fucking chrome. That's how I used to always keep my sinks, and I used to always keep a rag on my sink. So if I get up, I wash my hands, I wash my face, I wipe that sink out. You don't leave water in the sink. That's a habit. Some people do, some people don't. You don't spit in the sink. You spit in the toilet. You're brushing your teeth, and You don't spit in the sink. You spit the toothpaste in the toilet and you flush that shit. Those are some of the things that you got to keep in mind. Sometimes your celly might not be fortunate enough to go to the store. If that's the case, you're carrying both of you, and you got canteen and he's not going. Of course, if I got canteen in the cell, man, I tell my celly, hey brother, you're welcome to help yourself to anything and everything in here that you want, but just be considerate, bro. Be respectful. You know, if he drinks coffee, I'm gonna put a cup of coffee out there. That's community coffee. Show some respect, though. You know, you're not going to the store and you're drinking my coffee, motherfucker. Don't go over there and take five scoops of coffee in your little ass cup. You know what I mean? You ain't balling like that, motherfucker. You living off of me. So take your little spoon and get your ass on up out the way. Hell yeah, I'm watching you, motherfucker. One spoon. You only get to shit one time a day. I ain't smelling that shit twice. I'm bullshitting, kind of, because I think I was probably a little, at some point I was probably a complicated dude to live with. You got two type of dudes in the cell, that passive type and the aggressive type. I was always the aggressive. That's just me. It's just my character, man. I'm an alpha male. That's just me. That's how I think. That's my mentality. You can't put two lions in the same cage together. They're gonna fight. That's what happens. It's happened to me, and I'm gonna walk you through some of them. But you know, this is when I really started to learn how to do self time, how to be compatible, how to be, you know, considerate of another man in there, and try not to pay too much attention to what they're doing, because like I said, if you do, it'll start fucking with your mind. You'll start to hate your celly, and you'll be looking for reasons to thump that motherfucker. I went through all that. You know, I had to learn how to not do that, man. Not like just focus on other shit, you know. But you know, there's things in the cell that you can't do too. Like you don't ever go in your celly shit. He's out on the yard. You don't go in his legal work. Start looking through his case and shit. You know, all that shit's gonna get looked at. But my point is, anyway, because everybody gets screened when they come in. But what I'm saying is, you don't go in his stuff. You don't start going through his mail, his personal letters, his pictures, and all that. That's a invitation to a fight right there. You know, I come in. I didn't used to. Well, if it depends, man. Because I was gonna say, it's like I didn't set traps for like to see if my celly was going through my shit. But at one point, I kind of did, because of the individual I was living with. I felt like this motherfucker was going through my shit because some of my shit was moved around, and I might put like a little piece of something somewhere where if he moves this, that's gonna get moved, and there's no way he wouldn't even know that was there. But there was, you know, it was things like that. It's just craziness, man. But that's what happens when you're locked in a small cell like that. So I'm gonna give you guys an example. Actually, I'm gonna give you two of them real quick. So I don't remember exactly like when I went back who I celled up with right away, but I remember at one point I ended up selling up with a guy named Wino from Daly City. I believe his name is Edward Lanzarin. Wino, I know you're still alive. I know you're around. It is what it is. I ain't holding no grudges against you. If you're watching this, you're welcome to comment, and you know everything I'm about to say is true right now. So I ended up selling up with Wino. By the time I ended up selling up with him, I had about 5 or 6 cellies. I had done a little bit of time. I knew the basics about being in the cell with somebody. One thing I never did was horseplay, because it always ended up bad with me, because I'll be honest, I can't take it. I can dish it, but I can't take it. You know, once you open that door and you start horseplaying with your celly, it ends up getting carried away, or you know, he might play with you at the wrong time, and so I just eliminated that. I don't horseplay. I don't fuck around, because, like I said, I can't take it, and I end up getting mad. So, and I learned that. So, you know, Wino, he's a character. He liked to horseplay. He liked to fuck around, and you know, I was young. I was At that time, I was 21, 1991. I was around 21. Yeah, I was 21. But this was about 1991 where I'm talking about going to the oil on our second run after the Chowho incident. So, we used to just to pass time, we used to play chess, we used to play cards. So one day he proposed that we play cards for knuckles. We wanted to play knuckles. Like, if you lose, you get to bend the deck of the cards, right? You get to bend the deck of the cards. And I had a fucking deck of cards. I'll show you guys what I meant. I know I got some, but I don't know where the fuck they're at right now. So anyway, the whole point of the game is, so if you win, you get to bend the deck of the cards, and then you take that where the cards are bent, that hard part right there, and you get to slap your fucking celly's knuckles. Bow! Right? If you do it right, you can split his shit open. So you put your fist out like this, and you might get, it depends on how many you're playing for, 5 whacks, 10 whacks, whatever. So we start doing that. We start playing cards for knuckles and shit, and then shit got carried away. I ended up losing a bunch of times, and this motherfucker ended up like getting me down like 20 hits. I think he cheated, dirty motherfucker. He probably cheated. But, so he got 20 hits on my knuckles. But we're playing and I'm watching him. I'm kind of just watching him out of my peripheral. Like, this punk's enjoying this shit, right? So start fucking with my mind. I start tripping on dude. So I'm like, okay, hey, let's play for food, bro. Let's play for desserts, right? And we start playing for desserts. And he ends up losing miserably. Never again got to eat a piece of fucking cake, a brownie, or none of that shit. Cookies, that shit all, I own all that. When it comes to the tray slide, it's mine. So he ends up losing all his desserts. From the desserts, we start playing for cups of water. If you lost, you had to drink so many cups of water, 10 cups, 15 cups. And I was heartless, man. If you lost, motherfucker, I ain't cutting you no breaks. You lost and you owe me 100 cups of water, I'm gonna stand right here and you gonna drink every last one of them motherfuckers, man. So I end up getting them bad, man, where he's like 80 cups. I made this motherfucker throw up about 6 times. He kept slamming water until he was like, bro, I'm gonna fucking pass out. Later on, I found out you can actually die from drinking water like that too, man. So anyway, it kept on escalating. It went from water to main course. Main course, lost miserably again. So bottom line is, it ends up to where I end up winning about 50 main courses, 50 desserts. I get all this shit. The only thing this motherfucker's allowed to eat is a salad. You get nothing but motherfucking rubbish. Whatever you call it, rubbish. That's all he gets. He's like a fucking cow. All you eat is salad, motherfucker, and you don't even get the dressing. I was ruthless, man. I was a ruthless little youngster. So this motherfucker, he's on a diet up in that cell. And this is all because, horse playing and shit, and him getting some enjoyment out of busting up my knuckles. So that's how it started, though. So before you guys jump on me, man, just know that this fool, he started this shit, and he was a little fucking weasel, man. And you're gonna know why. So anyway, I get him down like 50 main courses, 100 desserts. You don't get to eat his bag lunch. I end up winning breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Literally the only thing he gets to eat is the salad. I might throw him a Jello every now and then if I'm feeling generous. But I had no problem doubling up in there and watching that hungry motherfucker just look at me and be like, man, bro, you can't even save me like a morsel or like a... Hell nah. You lost, bro. This is my winnings right here, boy. So anyway, that's how we're living up in there. And one day when we're in there, we're playing cards, right? And he's trying to get his run backs. He starts just out of nowhere, man. I'm by the sink and I'm getting a cup of coffee or something, and he comes up and he puts his head in my chest and he starts like trying to wrestle with me, and I'm like, stop playing, boy. You know what I mean? Knock that shit off, man. I don't play like that. I've already told him a couple times, right? But he's like, come on, man. You know what I mean? So he keeps on pushing, he keeps on pushing, he keeps on pushing, and eventually I end up breaking my policy, and I'm like, all right, fuck it. So we start wrestling. We're wrestling. I'm way bigger than this fool. I'm a beast by then, man. We had a weight. When I was out on mainline, I told you guys about how I had my own weight pile, literally. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I was a recreation clerk, so I had my own weight pile. We still had weights in prison at that time. I was huge. And this dude was like a little itty bitty motherfucker, man. But he wanted to wrestle. So things got carried away like I knew they would. I ended up picking him up, doing my signature move. Went to slam him, but I tried to catch him. I wasn't gonna really slam the dude. He was the homie. But you know, his weight kind of carried him a little too much, and he ended up falling and hitting his head right on the toilet. Bing! Rung his bell. But he ended up getting mad. He hit his head. He jumped up and he started swinging. So I sat him down with a quick 3-piece. Bop, bop, boop. Sat his ass down, and shit got funky in the cell for a minute. I put my hands on him. That line was crossed. From that point on, things were kind of funny in there. You know, we sat down, we talked about it. I apologized to him. Technically I could have got disciplined in there, but the homies that were there, Jasper and Chino, they would have probably been like, man, you guys just need to just split up. But it changed. Once I put my hands on him, our relationship, it changed. Anyway, obviously, he was trying to win his shit back. And it went from water to the food to the breaker ended up coming down to, we start playing chess. Chess, for those of you that don't know, YA babies, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but when you play chess, it's so whatever it is, you're playing cards. If you lose, I get 5 hits to the chest. It's basically where you got to stand there. You got to stand wherever I position you, and then I get to take one right to the chest, like just whoop, hit you as hard as I can in that motherfucking solar plex. Bow. So yeah, you guys guessed it, man. I end up getting them down like 200 to the chest. I get 200 of them on call. So I'm taking, well, it was either, yeah, it was to the chest. Okay, so it was to the chest. I remember, like, I'm taking him to the chest, but I'm killing this dude, literally. So at one point, he's like, hey, fucking just, can I get him in my arm? Because, like, I had 100 of them, man. So I'm like, all right, give me 15 of them right now. I'm taking them in the arm. So anyway, I'm hitting him in the arm as hard as I can, like, and I'm telling you guys, I was swole up, so I'm hitting him. Bow! I'm lining them up exactly how I want them, and I'm putting all my weight into it. I'm hitting them as hard as I can. I had inflicted so much damage to this boy's body that literally I started getting scared, because it got to the point where he couldn't go to the yard. I had put bruises on him from his whole chest was black and blue, and his arms, it looked like he was getting blood poisoning. His arms, it looked like there was different shades of bruising in his. It was crazy, man. Like in the deep part of it, it was like pitch black, and then it got like purple, and then like green, blue, yellow, green. It was crazy, but it looked like some of it was coming from his chest and it was just draining down into his arm. There'd be times when we wouldn't be playing. We'd be, he'd be up on his top bunk and I'd be on the bottom bunk, and we'd be doing shit, reading or whatever, and he'd be like, B, check it out. Look at my arm. And I get up and I look, and his arm would be he was having like tremors, little small tremors, man. They would just be shaking. The muscles would be fucking all fucked up. So that's what we were doing, and it kept on. It kept on. I didn't know when to stop. I should have stopped, but I ended up getting carried away. And again, he's the one that pushed this shit. But it got to the point where, like, bro, you can't go to the yard like that. There's no fucking way, because they strip you out when you go to the yard. You know, he take his shirt off, and obviously it's gonna be an issue. So anyway, you know, things never got funky between us. Like, we didn't stop talking or nothing like that. But it just, like I said, from the day I put my hands on him, it changed up in there. We were never the same after that. But what ended up happening is, so during 1 yard, he couldn't go out. There's no way. I was like, I'll let the homies know, like, you're sick, bro. Like, and that's a no-no. You can't. Household policies, you can't stay in yourself. You give a fuck how sick you are. You got to come up and make an appearance. You got to come out. Nobody gets to stay in their cell. So I just told him, I let him know. But they were the leadership up there. They were young. Jasper, Chino, they were young, hermanos. So, you know, I knew I could convince him. He's like, hey, the homie, like, he's really fucked up. You know, he needs to lay down and chill. So they were like, yeah, like that bad? Like, bro, he's fucked up. Like, he's throwing up all over and shit. And I put the 2 on the 10. So anyway, we're out on the yard, and you know, I tell him, okay, it didn't happen on the yard. That's right. So the following yard, when we went to get stripped out, I told him on that yard too, you got to stay in, bro. You can't go out. Like, you can't. You know what I mean? The canines are gonna. I started to worry, like, I'm gonna catch a case or something, like a fucking torture or mayhem or something. So, like I said, he didn't give me any signs that there was like anything going on the day of the yard. He didn't say nothing crazy, nothing. I mean, we still talked, but like I said, it was just a little different up in there. There was lightweight tension. But anyway, so I'm stripping out for yard, and he's on the top bunk. And all of a sudden he jumps off the bunk, and then he starts stripping out. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? He's like, I'm gonna go to yard. And I'm like, nah, bro, you just stay back, homie. Kick back, bro. And you know, K9 standing there at the door, you can hear us talking, and he's like, nah, I'm going to yard. So I'm like, fuck it. You know, what can I do? So he strips out. K9 don't really trip when he searches him right there in the door, at the door, because we're behind a solid door with a small little piece, a small window. So it's kind of hard to really get a good look in there. Anyway, so they strip you out twice though. They strip you out in the cell, and then they strip you out in a little cage down on the floor. So we get cuffed up and we walk out, and they cage us up, and they put me in a cage in B section, and they put him in another cage that's like right on the other side of a gate. And as soon as the K9 took his cuff off, I heard him say, man, look at my body. Look at me, man. Look at I got bruises everywhere. I haven't eaten in 3 weeks. I'm starving. He's like, look at me, man. He's like, I need a cell move. And I just continued to act like I didn't even hear him. I'm tripping like, but I just continued to dress out. I got cuffed up. I went out to the yard. And I told the homies, hey, I know this cat's tripping out. You know, he came out, and I told him what he said. And then I had to let the homies know, look, man, this is what's been going on. And, you know, like I said, they were youngsters. Had they been older hermanos, I would have probably got in trouble. And I wouldn't got hit or nothing like that, but I would have got in trouble. All they really did was kind of laugh about it. Like, for real, you guys doing, man? You guys are fucking up, right? That's all he really said, though. You know, I didn't have no status back then, but I've always been an aggressive type of dude. I'm not saying that they didn't want to DP me, but I didn't get DP. All they really said was, well, we'll see what happens, man. But hey, you guys are fucking up. You know, that's all they really said. So anyway, halfway through the yard, They come out, the COs come out and call me in off the yard. I'm thinking, what the fuck? What could they possibly be calling me in for? So they bring me in, but I'm thinking I'm probably gonna get written up for assault or something like that, assault and battery or something. So I go in, they walk me in, they put me in a cage, and then the CO takes my cuff off, and he's telling me, he's like, so I'm gonna let you know right now, you're getting written up for assault on another prisoner, and you're also getting written up for possession of a deadly weapon, and it's an A1 offense. It's a A1 offense is basically when it gets referred to the district attorney for prosecution, and they hardly ever pick up weapons in prison. Sometimes they don't even pick. Most of the time, they don't even pick up stabbings. They don't give a fuck, But sometimes they do. So I'm like, fuck. I caught a couple A1 offenses in there. It wasn't my first rodeo, so I was like, okay, So what it was, the weapon that they found was, I had a razor blade stashed in my letters. And the only motherfucker that knew about that razor blade was Wino. He's the only one that knew. And it wasn't like they thrashed the cell and went through everything in the cell. When I went back in the cell, his shit was obviously was gone. Old boy peeled me for the canteen. I knew that was coming. That's what dirty motherfuckers do, right? So he whooped me for the canteen. Come back, I don't even got no coffee up in the cell. This motherfucker hijacked everything. But what happens is, everything is basically in its place in the cell except for my box of letters. That's the only thing moved. So they came in and went straight to where the weapon was. Why? Because he told. So I get written up for this A1 offense, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm probably like a year to the house at that time, and I had just got a bunch of time back because I had the time I caught from the main line and some other shit from fighting and getting caught with some wine and just some all kind of old knick-knack type of shit. Anyway, so I have I have action at paroling like in '92 around June if I don't catch any more time or if I get all my time back. I'm still eligible to do it. But this A1 offense that I picked up with this cat, it's gonna hold me up, right? So anyway, I get written up. He locks it up. He ain't coming out to yard no more. Of course, he peeled me from my canteen and shit. Of course, I knew he was gonna lock it up. But anyway, so he gets put on the BNL and he's excommunicated, whatnot. He's done, right? I don't say nothing else to him. But the only thing I said to him was when he was getting escorted one time, and I slapped that 1030 up on my window. I slapped it on the window and I pointed to it. And I just looked at him and I'm like, you a dirty motherfucker, boy. And I'm like, man, this shit right here, it's gonna catch up to you, homie. Karma's a motherfucker, bro. And he was like, man, I ain't said nothing. No, I didn't tell them shit. I'm like, come on, man. The only thing that they went for in the cell, and you didn't tell them that. Okay, so anyway, as time goes on, I'm starting to think like, you know what? Maybe I can manipulate this dude. He's from Daly City. I'm from Frisco. I might be able to get through to him. If I can get through to him, if I can get him to come down there and take ownership of that razor blade and say it was his and that he set me up, maybe I can go home when I can in mid '92. So I get at him, man. I fucking try to play him out of pocket. You know what I mean? I go into damage control mode and I get at him with the old fucking banana in the tailpipe, the okie doke. Bro, you know what I'm saying? I get at the homies and, you can clean this up and, it's a bad look for you, but this is a way that you can come from up under it and come on, homie, you know what I mean? I'm supposed to go in '92 and you got a little bit more time. It's not even gonna make a difference for you. And anyway, I get at him on paper and we're dialoguing back and forth and he fucking bit like a big mouth bass, man. So anyway, DA declines to pick it up. They decline to pick it up, and at some point, I go to my 115 hearing, and when I go in there, lieutenant that's hearing it, I tell him, hey, tell you straight up, man, I don't know where that razor blade came from, but I have a witness, and I'd like to call him in there, and it was my cellie. And the lieutenant goes, check this out, man. Look, there's no doubt in my mind that razor blade is yours. I know it's yours. He goes, but I'm going to tell you like this. If that stupid motherfucker is dumb enough to come in here and tell me that it's his, I'm going to drop this 115 on you. He's like, I already know it's yours, but if he's really going to do that, then I'll drop it. And I'm like, okay, we'll call him in here then. So, boom. They bring me out, cage me back up. He goes in. I look at him. I'm like, all right, homie. All right, bro. Do the right thing, homie. You know what I'm saying? He's like, all right, B. All right. I got you, homie. Right? So, he goes in, does the do, comes back out, and he's like, all right, B, one love, homie. One love, right? They're going to call you back right now. It's like, I did that, right? And I'm like, all right, bro. I'm going to holler, man. Get at you, bro. So I go back in. Lieutenant was like, hey, case drop. You're good. He's like, stay out of trouble, man. He's like, you dodged a bullet with this one. Lucky motherfucker. He's like, he came in there. He said it was his, so it's dropped. Booyah. Man, I didn't even wait 5 minutes before I went back. When they was escorting me back in to the section where I was at, I was like in 146 or right around there somewhere towards the end of the tier. I think he went down to 150. I was like 4 cells away from the end. He was on the second tier, but he was like in 148 or 248, somewhere around there. And when they're escorting me back in, I look up at that motherfucker. I say, you dumbass motherfucker, boy, you still on the BNL. Straight got him. Hey, he was dumb enough to go in there and do that. He should have knew better. He should have knew that that wasn't gonna change his status or his standings. He was stupid enough to bite, and he bit. So that was the end of that situation that happened with him. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little bit of the next situation that I had right there after Wino had ended up, after he pled guilty and he took that case off of me. I'm going to go into another situation that kind of deals with some differences I had with another cellie. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I end up stabbing this dude, but I'm going to tell you that part after. All I'm going to do is kind of set the stage right now. So this other dude that ends up moving in my cell at some point, his name was Joey Fernandez from Tulare County. I thought he was a cool cat when I first met him. That's why I moved him in with me. You know what I mean? I thought it would be a good, I thought he'd be a good cellie, man. But after he ended up moving in, I started seeing things that just started bothering me. Like I told you guys, if you allow certain situations, if you start thinking about it too much, it's going to start fucking with you. And it started fucking with me. And I'm just going to tell you guys like this. The straw that broke the camel's back was he had weird habits, kind of like feminine type of habits, man. But the thing that he did that just fucking threw me, and there was just there's no way he had to go after that, was, so when they run shower program over there, the showers, there's a upper shower for C-section and a lower shower. In B section, they have an upper and a lower. In A section, upper and a lower. So they run showers 1 cell at a time. Both you and your cellie get to go in there. There's a cage, a gate on the shower. So while your cellie is showering, usually out of respect, you just kind of like lean up on the shower and you're posted. You got your towel around your neck and you just kind of just post it. Or, if you need to shave, you're in the mirror shaving, letting the homie get a little bit of privacy. That's how you do it. He showers, then he gets up out the way, then you get in, you shower, right? So, on this particular day when we went out to shower, he was shaving, which is cool. He had that You know, that was okay. He was showering. But the thing about it is what he would do is he would fucking leave his t-shirt on, take his socks and his boxers off, and he would stand there naked from waist down. And man, I don't know, man. Some of you might think that that's okay. Some of you might have not been bothered by that. But for me, when I seen it, man, it just looked like it just didn't look right, man. It had a bad look to it. And you know, the first time he did it, I didn't say nothing. I gave him that respect. I kind of just was like, man, maybe he just had a mental. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna let it go. But the second time, when he did it the second time, man, when we came back up in the cell, I told him, I'm like, hey, homie, check this out, bro. Look, man, you know, I'm not trying to dictate nothing, but with all due respect, the way that you're in that shower, that shit ain't cool, bro. You know what I mean? And don't do that again. And he's like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? What are you talking about? What am I doing? And I told him, the way that you stand there naked from the waist down, he was like, bro, we're in the shower. What am I supposed to do? He was like, you know, I do my program, you do yours, homie. And I'm like, man, check it out, bro. Like I said, don't fucking do it again, bro. Otherwise, man, get up out of here, man. Get the fuck up out of here, bro. I don't like that shit. And just don't do that. Don't do it when I'm in that shower with you, man. And from that point on, things were funny between us. He didn't talk to me the rest of the day. I didn't talk to him. But what ended up happening was, you know, things didn't escalate that day. We went out to the yard, and I told the homies, hey, this motherfucker got to go. He got to get up out the cell, man. We're not getting along. He got to go, man. I was foaming at the mouth. I was pissed off. So he went out there and he stated his case, and he was like, I don't see what the big deal is. I'm just taking a shower. Homeboy's tripping. You know what I mean? Womp. And I'm like, man, he got to go, man. He's got to go. And they were like, the homies were like, all right, try to put that cell move in. You guys just try to split it up. And in the meantime, man, just chill, right? So we go back in the cell. They run another shower, and the motherfucker does it again. So I tell him, you got to go, bro. I tell him, when we come back in the cell, you got to fucking go. Get your ass up out of here, man. I don't care how you do it. Just go. So we don't talk the rest of the day. And at some point, they start running dinner. I hear the chow carts. So I get up and I post up by the cell door. I lean up on the door and I'm there kicking back. And I'm watching them move the carts around and fix our trays. And he got a kite in his hand. He rolled it up, and I can see what he's doing. And at some point, the tier officer comes on the tier, and he was like, "Hey, can I get up? Can I get by the door?" And I'm like, "For what, bro?" And he goes, "I'm gonna try to get up out of here. I'm gonna get it to sergeant." And I'm like, "Hey, man, but what you got in your hand, bro?" And he's like, "I got something for the sergeant." I'm like, "Nah, bro, that ain't going through the door, homie." He was like, what do you mean it ain't going through the door? I said, like I said, that motherfucker's not going through the door. I don't know what you got on there, what you wrote, but whatever it is, you can tell that CO when he's right there in front of the gate. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I want to see that shit. And he's like, man, this ain't none of your business, woo. I'm like I said, that motherfucker's not going through the door. If you try to pass that kite through the door, I'm fucking gonna rush you, bro. I'm telling you right now, we're gonna fight up in there. And he was like, all right, man, you threatening me now? I'm like, I'm just telling you, bro. You gonna drop a kite in front of me? Crazy as fuck. You know what I mean? So at one point he gets up and he just throws the kite in the toilet and he flushes it. So when the CO ends up coming up, he's like, hey, officer, he's like, can I talk to you? And the officer's like, what's up? And he's like, hey, I need to talk to the sergeant. I need to talk to somebody like right now. I got to get up out of this cell. I got to go. And the CO's like, all right, I'll let the sergeant. He goes, no. He's like, hey, get me up out of here right now. He's like, don't walk away, man. He's like, I'm telling you, I need to get out of here. I need to talk to the sergeant. I'm just sitting there looking at this dude. I'm like, you better hope this CO don't walk away right now. So the CO comes back and he kind of like just looks in at me, looks at him, He's like, all right, I guess we got a situation. So he ends up cuffing me up, pulls him out, stands there, and he stands him on the tier while he uncuffs me, and then they split. He goes and tells the sergeant whatever he told him. Whatever he told him, it worked, because the CO came back up to the cell and he's like, hey, I don't know what you did to that dude, but he does not want to come back up to this cell. They're moving him, so if you can, give me his property. I'm gonna tell you guys like this: I'm not a dirty motherfucker like Wino did me. I could have raped him for all his fucking cosmetics and all his canteen. I just bagged this shit up and gave it to the CO. You know, I'm not dirty like that, man. You know, but anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that right there, because there's more to this story, and I don't want this to go on too long. I know some of you are gonna lose interest, so I'm gonna leave it right there, man. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna pick up from that point on, because I'm not done with Joey yet. There's still a lot more to go when talking about this dude and some of the scandalous shit that would end up happening. But anyway, hey, this is episode 20 of Inner Demons. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying, all this content that we're putting out now. We might do a live tonight. I don't know when this is going to get released. I cut war stories already, so you guys got that going out as well. I'm still working on some of the other things that I told you guys that I've been working on, as far as trying to upgrade the channel and some other things that I got in the works. I think I mentioned it in one of my war story episodes, but I'm still working on it, man. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'm out.